Hello, everybody. If you have just clicked on this video, this is a podcast. So we do
Mm,
some preamble because it's a live show. We wait for people to join, and some of our listeners are fans of the preamble.
mhm,
But if you're not a fan of the preamble, if you're on a data restriction or data, or you're
mm,
driving, or you're on a boat, or on a desert island,
mm.
you have limited service, then we're available as a podcast. If you search Seattle Overload in your podcast app, it will appear.
Mhm. And the
If you
preamble is
follow,
cut out by yours
yeah,
truly.
no preamble because Ty is also our producer
Mhm,
and he edits this stuff to have
mhm.
no preamble. You even get a fancy intro, which OG listeners will remember that, it didn't always have that kind of intro.
Oh, yeah, brother. Overload, brother.
Yep. RIP.
RIP.
Rest in podcast.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
that's my public service announcement because the comments every week now we have people who are upset by the preamble, but also some fans of the preamble.
Right.
What side of the war would you fight on? The preambles or the
Oh, I'm
non-preambles?
pro preamble.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Stupid
I'm not a sicko.
right. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think the people who don't like the preamble, they're done for. They're outnumbered.
Right.
They're soft.
Right. And, how else would we be able to show our areas in tourist ways?
True. So, what is a Taurus? It sounds like a
Well
dinosaur,
well, it's a
like
bull.
an Saurus. All
It's
right,
a yeah,
Taurus.
Taurus. Yeah.
Hmm.
Toro. Yeah.
Is a bull?
Bull.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bull.
What do you think
Built different.
of what do you think of bulls, just in general?
Um, take them or leave them.
Right, like in when I was in Spain,
Mhm.
I had a bull tail stew.
I've never eaten bull.
No, it's very nice because if you were ordering that dish in England, it would
Mhm.
be oxtail,
Okay,
but
sure.
in Spain, it's a bull.
Bull.
But in Spain, they're kind of
What
well,
what well, what's your review of that meal?
oh, it's really nice. Have
Let's
you never had that kind of thing? Oh, it's
no.
very rich.
Okay.
It's, kind of melt in the mouth kind of deal, like nice and gelatinous,
Right.
very texturally pleasing, rich,
Mhm.
beefy, bit of
Beefy.
umami going on,
Okay.
salty if they've done well with the sauce.
Yeah,
This came with nice chips on the side, or sorry,
I like that.
fries.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. God
Please
damn
code
it.
switch
Yep.
for your American audience.
Yeah, sure thing, man. And yeah, it's great. Although I shouldn't generalize, but some people in Spain are fans of fighting bulls and watching bullfighting, and it's like a
Yeah.
controversial thing. Matadors, yeah, the red
Eh,
flag, which is all for
eh,
show. Like the
right.
bull's angry because they've just like animal cruelty the heck out of
Mm,
it, and
yeah,
then let it
yeah,
loose in a arena full of like shouting people.
yeah.
Yeah,
In just a completely chaotic environment. Yeah.
yeah,
It's not the red flag, contrary to
no.
popular belief.
Yeah, I mean, if that happened to me and I saw some guy who's dressed like a matador, which is quite an interesting costume, waving a red flag, that would probably annoy me further. Don't get me wrong, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I would be like, yeah, this is definitely the guy that I want to take my frustration out on. This seems like a good, you
yeah,
know.
like this guy can get it.
Yeah, yeah. He looks like a good volunteer for that.
Mm,
Mhm. Yeah.
hmm
He likes contact, just like the linebackers from Wisconsin. Am I right, Griff? Oh, Griff's not here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
shame. I think Griff just said that because Jim Leonard runs a similar kind of bear front deal.
Right. And also he's a sump and he's desperate for good linebacker play because he's a sump.
A simp. I have to
Mhm.
say, I used to be well. I started coaching defensive backs. I played briefly cornerback. So naturally, I gravitated towards the corner
I want
position.
to see. I want to see your tape.
No, you
Let's get
don't.
the Matty. Let's get the Matty F. Brown tape. Who do I contact for that?
It's buried
uh,
in the huddle
I'll
archive.
find it. I'll
Yeah,
find it. I'll find
but linebackers, tight ends, they're like the two coolest positions
it.
because they do everything.
We have a
Safeties are kind of like that too. If you're like
right,
a guy who can come into the box a bit,
right,
like basically Jamal Adams,
exactly. We
Drew
have a
Branley.
yeah.
Drew,
I was about to point that out.
what are my ties to Seattle? So, Starbucks. Ever heard of it?
Mm,
Yeah,
no,
my dad. No, 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 no. It's not. It's
your
nothing to do
your
with Starbucks.
your dad is Howard Schultz. He's the one who sold the
Yeah,
Sonics.
yep, yep. Wearing this hat.
Me and your dad have beef, bro.
Mm. And don't forget that my brother, if I were the son of Howard, would have broke the Geno Smith news.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
my
mean, you guys basically look alike.
mm, that's not very nice to Jordan. Um,
uh,
okay, but yeah, my ties to Seattle, basically
uh,
nothing. So the story, which has been told before, but the story is in 2012, I switched on a preseason game of NFL. I think it
mm,
was the Dolphins, and I expected to hate it and was like, "What on earth is this garbage?" But in fact, I was intrigued. Dolphins colors are quite cool. I
mm,
downloaded Madden, learned the rules via Madden and the game via Madden because it's quite complicated if you're a foreigner.
mhm,
And then liked the Seahawks logo and the new Nike uniforms and the colors, and then watched Marshawn Lynch's first Beastquake, and the defensive speed was pretty astonishing. And obviously, that was a pretty cool team. And Russell Wilson was a rookie, and that was very cool. And yeah, all from there. So good logo, good redesign. Which a lot of like when I was in Germany, all the German fans mentioned the
then
logo and the redesign.
right. Then what made you want to be a complete utter freak about football?
Defense.
Mm,
Well, because the Seahawks defensive speed was so cool and the defense was
mhm,
very cool. And again, like I feel generally offense and points is like the deal in America, right? Generally.
mhm,
But abroad, generally, like in America, in the UK,
mhm,
maybe before fantasy football, but like generally there is a predisposition to prefer like defense over offense. But now with fantasy football and points and just how the game is changing to almost stars become a thing in like a basketball way and people
mhm,
follow players. I
right.
think that may have shifted more to offense and like, oh, this wide receiver is awesome. I'll follow him where he goes and buy his jersey, which is just a change in landscape of sports in general.
What? We have a donation
Oh no.
from Derek. It's $4.99. Thank you so much, Derek. Derek says, "Maddie, teach us with your whiteboard." What do you got?
Derek, what
Well, tell us a little bit about what you got going on behind your head right now. What are we looking at?
Oh, well, Derek, thank you very much for the donation. This was an Underdog Fantasy film room video on the Kansas
Ooh.
City Chiefs, which is out. You should go to Underdog Fantasy, like the video,
Mhm.
subscribe, comment. Wow, Matty is so clever. And also, he doesn't look anything like Jordan Schultz. And yeah, so this was a play that the Chiefs
Say
ran.
that this Australian guy sounds very tall and buff and jacked.
Mm. He would
Uh,
never he would never drink crumpets or eat tea.
yeah, and he would definitely never sell the Seattle Supersonics to an Oklahoma City-based businessman.
Yeah, tough Sonic's news recently. Actually, that's like a wild story, but we don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So Derek, this is basically so. I mean, I don't want to spoil the video, but the Eagles were running their usual cover 4 looks, and Kansas City shifted into trips, which you can see that receiver shifting to get generic checks to that defense, from the defense to the offensive look, and then the Chiefs basically broke the base coverages. Here, I think the Eagles was running cover 4, and Kelsey ran as though he was going to go over to the wide side of the field. This safety, that guy started thinking, I'm going to carry safety across the field because that's his job in the defense. And this linebacker was like, oh crap, Kelsey's going into a lot of space. I need to run over with it that way. And then Kelsey broke back across, and there's a massive void in the defense because of how that all played out and the spacing of it. Basically was flood into the boundary, but because of Kelsey's fake element and the shift into it, it broke it. And so when everyone's talking about corn dog and whoa, why would Jonathan Gannon run all these man coverage and the ways of trying to spin towards jet motion and alleviate stress on the defense because that's why you spin because when someone jets like this across the field, rather than run all the way across with it, you spin the safety down to it to gain leverage and then spin the guy who was in man coverage to where the safety was. But the reason Gannon got into all that stuff is because the Chiefs very early in the game established, hey, we're going to motion and we're going to break your cover 4 zone stuff. So Gannon was like, okay, I now need to play cover 1 and spin round. And then Andy Reid has another answer. He has a plan B for the Eagles' plan B, and that is the corn dog thing. But we don't get there if he hadn't already broke the plan A of the Eagles, which is why Andy Reid's one of the best play callers. He sort of knows what a defense is doing, and the Eagles were very predictable. But Derek, we moved away from the whiteboard stuff because it is quite clunky doing it live compared to we did live annotation episodes and stuff, and we should be able to do the live annotations again. Say when Seattle's drafted players, we're planning to have sort of 1 to 2, maybe 3 standout plays of that player, and then sort of describing with annotations how they fit in Seattle, what the scheme is, which how they perform in the offense or defensive scheme, and the X's and O's, how that makes that even more impressive. Heck, even when we do positional previews, we're starting with edge rushers types next week. Griff and I, we hope to, of the guys we like in particular, we hope to have 2 plays sort of giving the essence of them, and I will get the computer whiteboard out, but the other whiteboard is a tad clunky. So it really, as much as a little peek behind the curtain here, as much as it is this guy's a mad freak nerd who is drawing up plays in his spare time on his whiteboard. Actually, it's just a nice background for the Underdog Fantasy Film Room, which is presented by myself. And you should, again, Underdog Fantasy, like and comment and subscribe.
No free ads, though.
Oh, no free ads. Although, Underdog, if you want to sponsor the Seattle Overlook podcast, Starbucks.
Just putting it out there.
Thanks, Derek, and also thank you for the donation. Very kind, and we appreciate your continued support. You're an OG.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, there you go.
Appreciate it, Derek. Now, Matty, you're going to be talking a lot about Nolan Smith during that Edge episode, right? Right, Matty? You love Nolan Smith. First round talent, Nolan Smith.
Yeah. We'll talk about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about him. Sure.
Did
you hear that he likes the Seahawks? So
well,
that's cool.
Did you see that CJ Stroud said that he was a Seahawks fan 6 years ago on Twitter? There you go.
Oh, and Anthony Richardson also said that his interview with the Seahawks went well. So
it felt different, is what he said. Yeah.
So that means
they're drafting both.
And Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, so Smith's not a first rounder.
Well, No, they trade the rest of their draft capital for the
Yep.
next,
Future
2 years.
assets. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe Geno. Yep.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
Geno as well. I mean, you
Mhm.
have 2 quarterbacks, so you don't really need Geno. So
No free ads.
no free ads.
Naive water. I remember Griff did that one time. Okay, should we do the podcast?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. So now, remember that was the preamble.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guys, if you were downloading the show and giving us a 5-star review on your podcast app, you would have no preamble. You just have an intro which tells you this is for the real fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is for the real fans, not the fake 12s who jumped on the bandwagon in
It's for the
2012.
it's for the X's and O's, not the
Not
Jimmys and
the
Joes. Yeah.
yeah. That's right.
No hot takes.
No hot takes. No,
None of
we
them.
like
Never.
we like film and scheme
Yeah.
and
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 drinking
yeah.
in a lab
Mm-hmm.
with cigars.
And we like drawing up plays in our bedroom when no one
Yeah,
else is
just all the
around.
time.
Yeah.
Like when I sleep, I'm not sleeping. I'm just drawing on the whiteboard.
Yeah, not talking heads. That's right, Kyle.
There you go, Kyle. See,
No.
Kyle listens.
Yeah. No hot takes.
Yeah.
We definitely approved that intro. Totally.
Okay, let's go. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where Ty and I are going to delve into major Seahawks news. We know that Geno Smith has re-signed. Griff and I have already covered that, but more figures have come out about the Geno Smith deal that make it look more enticing and team friendly. Just very cool. Geno also had his press conference today, which stuff to delve into there. Gabe Jackson has been cut. Ben Burr-Kirvin has also sadly been cut. And we may be able to delve into some other fun stuff. But Ty, this is the first time we talk, and since Geno Smith resigned. So Ty, you are an owner of probably the first Geno Smith jersey purchased from the Seahawks.
That's right. I believe that was actually a record that I set. I'm still
they
waiting.
Put it on the jersey.
I'm still waiting for
one.
my plaque from the Seahawks themselves as first Geno believer. Of course,
I think that's in the post.
Right. Yeah. So Geno's deal was, just getting Geno locked up in general. We'll get into the deal in a bit, but just getting Geno locked up in general for the next year, and we'll get into how this impacts 2024 and 2025 as well. But getting him locked up, taking care of that, not leaving that up to any sort of question going into free agency is huge. Not leaving anything up to any possibilities of him heading elsewhere or even testing the market really is just it's big, because you really you really didn't know, especially with what's going on with Aaron Rodgers still hasn't made a decision. Now Lamar has kind of entered the fracas here. Derek Carr, of course, signed a few days ago. But then there's Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe even Matt Stafford might be on the trade block. All this stuff, you didn't really know how Geno's situation was going to go. Because he was one of the few truly unrestricted free, or he was set to be one of the true unrestricted free agents to actually hit the market. And that, makes things convenient for a few other teams that might be exploring something like Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson right now, and just may find that to be a better, way for them to go. And who knows what kind of guarantees and all that that could have been made at that point. But ultimately, Geno ends up staying where he completely, revitalized his career and gets to stay with, the coaching staff that he has become accustomed to and has helped him, turn things around here in the later stages of his career. And it's just it's a great, relationship that was certainly, it felt like it was far from ending, and felt like, it was just the best and most natural fit for both sides, and where the team is right now and where Geno is in his career. So it made just a ton of sense. And this was why, you and I didn't really entertain the idea of him actually leaving. Because it felt like this was going to happen. Like this was a matter of when, not if. And I mean, even Geno was talking that way, at the Pro Bowl and after the season, et cetera, talking about how he felt very confident that they were going to get things done. And sure enough, here we are.
Well, more than that, if you remember after like the 49ers game, Gino was understandably asked about, the contract situation, how he
Hmm.
felt. Maybe it was after week 18 when they didn't know their playoff fate. But anyway, he spoke on
Hmm.
his contract and he was saying about how important loyalty is. And like the insinuation was that he would maybe take a team friendly deal.
Right.
And so it has proved. So like Griff and
Yeah.
I, when we spoke about his contract immediately, obviously, uh, Jordan Schultz reported that the contract was $105 million,
Right.
3 years, 50 million guaranteed over the first calendar year, or potential to earn $50 million over the first calendar year. Sorry, and you're immediately skeptical. It feels agency, is what I said to Griff
Right.
whenever we've recorded that, and so it's proved. So we theorized that there'd be incentives involved here. Wondered maybe if they'd defer option the signing bonus, which they
Hmm.
did with Jamal Adams, and they haven't done that. What they have done is a lot of incentives. So,
Right.
Ty,
Hmm.
are you ready to be
Cashman,
Cashman?
not to be confused with Josh Cashman,
Yeah,
aka
he
Cable
that is
Thanos.
yes, that's
No,
Cashman. You are
that's Cashman.
Cashman.
I am Cashman. Yeah, so they're incentives, but not really. They're more so escalators, and we'll get into what that means and how that kind of impacts things here in a second. But there are essentially escalators tied to yardage, touchdowns, completion percentage, passer rating, and then playtime and win slash if he takes the team to the playoffs. So that's $2 million for each of those categories, and each of those numbers is exactly what he did last year. So it's 4,282 passing yards. That's what he put up last year. 30 touchdowns. That's what he put up last year. 69.7 completion percentage, 100.8 passer rating, and then 10 wins or making the playoffs. So all of those things that he did this past year. So
Yeah, and he
that
gets
would
$2 million each for hitting each one of those. And if he hits all of them, which that's going to be tough, the completion percentage one. But if he
right
hits all of them, then he gets an extra $5 million on top of that as well.
on top of that. So that's what, $15 million in total? Because there's 5 categories. Yeah. So $15 million in total. And then so at face value, you hear the word incentives and you see those numbers, and essentially you would think these are considered to be likely to be earned because that's what he did this past year. And in that instance, that would count towards the salary cap. However,
The
these are
2023 cap number.
right. However, because they're escalators, not incentives, they essentially go into his roster bonus and therefore do not count against the salary cap. Now, we're not salary cap guys.
No,
We're not.
hold on now. Hold on. Don't do
Oh,
yourself down. Remember, you're
mm,
the cash man.
that's true. That's true. That's true. But that from everything that I have read, and I've tried to do a lot of research on this because it's been a very complicated situation the last few days. Like we still don't even know what his year one cap hit is. But that seems to be the case that all the $15 million doesn't count against the cap. It's just they're essentially a roster bonus. So the other thing with that too is Mike Garafolo from NFL Network took Twitter tonight and made a correction
Hmm.
about the guaranteed money in Geno's contract. And so essentially all the guaranteed money that he is owed, that Geno is owed, is in year one. And there are no other guarantees in 2024 or 2025 except for a $12.7 million injury related guarantee.
Hmm. In
And that
2024.
in 2024. So that brings up a whole other question that I'll ask in a bit. But this is essentially another prove it deal. Now, Geno is getting paid, especially in year one. So it's not like he's getting the short end of the stick here, but he's basically betting on himself because with no guarantees for the next 2 years, unless he gets hurt, Seahawks could easily part ways next year if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So what do you let's start there. Just what do you think about that?
I mean, again, it's like clear evidence that Geno, he really wanted to be back in Seattle,
Mhm.
and really you sort of had to look towards his press conference comments. Like he's saying how he just believes in his ability, and he thinks the future's very bright. And he said it's just a way the incentives this is. It's just a way, obviously, for both parties to make it work. It allows the team room and space to do what they need to do, but also gives me an opportunity to be, one of the top 10 paid quarterbacks, which is something that I believe I am.
Mhm.
And he said on the importance of giving Seattle that flexibility. Yeah, it was extremely important. I believe in the team. I know how important it is for everyone, to have an opportunity. And so I trust these guys. I understand that these guys are building a championship team, and that's what we're about here. And so I really wanted to be part of that. And I'm just happy that we were able to find common ground that was balanced and worked for everyone, which is pretty remarkable comments from Geno. I also think, he still got paid, and the advantage for him is he got paid in this first year. If he
Mhm.
proves it, he will get paid in the second and third year.
Mhm.
He is in a position where if he proves it, and for whatever reason the team, maybe they do draft a rookie and they're ready to play him, then he'll get another payday immediately from another team because that's a 2-year resume now.
Mhm.
Uh, but also, for it's a three if it's a 3-year contract, then and he's with Seattle the whole time, he can get paid again. Uh, Sort of repeating the stuff that I said with Griff the other day, but then it's it's protecting Seattle from the fact that it is just a 1-year deal, of like 1 year of production,
Right.
and that if things go bad, then they're protected. Like Schneider spoke about how they're always trying to put together everything we're doing here is to try and maximize a player's value, but we're also trying to put together a consistent championship caliber team, and so there's a balance that goes into that.
Right.
And he credited Chaffee Fields and Kevin, I don't know the surname, but it's someone on Geno's agent team.
Right. For being
He,
creative and
yeah,
open-minded. Yeah.
open-minded, understanding what they wanted to accomplish, and
Well, and I
it
think we
ma-
even talked about that a few weeks ago that whenever this deal was going to happen, that it was going to be really unlike any other quarterback contract we've seen because of just the uniqueness of Geno's situation. Because we've never seen anything like that. So where do you kind of start, right?
yeah,
Like, so, and that's kind of what we're seeing here,
yeah, and I like Schneider's summaries were saying it was maximizing Geno's earning potential, recognizing what he's done, but
right?
also trying to help him be a championship quarterback. And
Right.
so like Seattle really like with this contract, they can kind of they can take it a number of directions. Like
Mhm.
it's not really set in stone that that's literally the definition of flexibility, right? Like they're
Yeah.
sort of in a win scenario, whatever. And I think really even like Geno is like I was saying to Griff how this is like the perfect contract, and it kind of is. Like it's gives you an appreciation of what goes into negotiations and how every
Right.
party can come out looking good. Now, Gino probably with the fact that guarantee it's only one guaranteed year of money,
Mhm.
and unless he gets injured, and then 2024 would be guaranteed. That is a pretty uh, tough look. But then yeah, he wanted to be in Seattle. He could have hit the open market and he could have got a better deal elsewhere, or maybe even a better deal from Seattle, but he just decided not to because of how much he wanted to be in Seattle. And so really it shakes out as like if Seattle wants, it can be a 1-year deal. And
Right.
a bit like I think Derek Carr's past contract was like that.
Mhm.
With with Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But if Seattle wants to have 2024 in, then they can. And
Mhm.
the same for 2025, you'd think they'd probably rework the deal if he'd done enough to play 2 years in Seattle. But
Right.
if they really wanted, like 2025, then is an easy one. Just on the escalators, they're added onto the 2024 roster bonus. I think that's how
Right.
that works. So they would count against the 2024 cap. But then you're just
Right.
splitting out the
And then you can probably restructure, something like
yep,
that to spread it
yep.
out a bit more. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting, because like if he does stay in 2024 and 2025, but let's just say 2024 for now, that means he probably had another really good season, right? Because if he's just kind of mediocre, if he's like more like a top 20-ish quarterback than a top 10-ish guy like he was this past year, they can just say, you know what, we'll move on. Quarterback class next year is pretty good, et cetera. Like there's going to be options out there for them to, do something different at the position. So either way, the Seahawks win in this situation. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't really imagine a better deal for the Seahawks out of this whole scenario, given the uniqueness of the situation.
So
I'm kind of surprised that they were able to pull it off, frankly.
yeah, so one thing, he can earn $28 million in the first year of his deal, right? And then
Right.
$15 million on top of that in incentives.
Yeah, and again, we
So
don't know exactly how all of that is being distributed, so we don't know what the cap hit is still. Like, no one's still,
no,
like, concrete like, I've seen so many different people on Twitter say it's one thing or another. Like, I've seen 18,000,000, I've seen 10,000,000, I've seen 13,000,000, I've seen 15,000,000. I have no idea what it is.
but like my point that is relevant, and I look forward to finding that out. But my point with saying that is like, well, 28 million plus 50. I mean, yeah, the $15 million are added on to
Uh,
2024, and the same, by the way, for if he hits those incentive marks again in 2024. Those would be added onto 2025's roster bonus. That's how it's structured.
right,
But
right,
the way Gino can look at it is, okay, I get $28 million in the first year, which is
mhm,
how it's been reported. Plus, say he hits the incentives of 15. Well, then suddenly that's like it's slightly delayed, but it's a 1 year $43 million deal is the way
yeah,
to sell it, and which is how you get probably that phrasing of it's $50 million over the first calendar
yeah,
year. And so even if it goes to even if the Seahawks draft a rookie, say, and we'll talk about that in Gino's comments on that, but even if they were to draft a rookie, but Gino plays well, then he's proved it. He's earned what's the franchise tag number for a
it
quarterback?
was like 35.
Yeah, so he's earned more than that.
Yeah,
And then he goes and gets another payday from another team. It's kind of a win-win for Gino, with the kind of possibility of, you know,
yeah, and even
okay,
if he just
I
hits 3 and even if sorry, but it just even if he hits 3 of those 5 escalators, like, he'll essentially make the franchise tag.
yeah.
So and like that, like a couple of those should be pretty easy as long as he stays healthy. Like 30 touchdowns, he should be able to match that. Passing yards should be able
Like
to match
any
that. Like,
quarterback in a functioning offense,
yeah.
and Gino knows his ability, and I think we can be confident of that as well. Like they haven't lost major pieces. Sure, there's areas they need to address, but like they still have that receiving core of DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett.
Mhm.
Okay, there's some work to do at tight end, low key work, but work nonetheless. And then the interior of the
Yeah.
offensive line. But like they have also Kenneth Walker in the backfield. Like they may bring back Rashad Penny. Like they have the weapons,
Mhm.
they have the setup, and
Mhm.
yeah, we need to look at the year one cap number, but they haven't completely uh, ruined their situation. And even if things go wrong, they haven't either. And so
Right.
for Gino though, like he is not foolish, and his representation isn't foolish either. They recognize that yeah, there is that only 1 year production with so many years just being a backup in the league.
Mhm.
This is like the insurance behind the opportunity to improve it. Like it's very I think it's very cool for Gina too. So like
Yeah.
really, really interesting stuff, and look forward for that to really getting the concrete information on the year one cap hit, because that is obviously important. And
Yeah.
it, yeah, I've seen numbers like $17 million, $15 million. I don't know
Yeah.
how that all works. cash man, you might have to
I need to
explain to
brush.
Matty.
I need to brush up on that because I have no idea either, and I don't know like where people are getting these numbers either because they're just saying the number. They're not like giving out like breakdowns of how they think it gets there. They're just like, yeah, it's $15 million.
Yep.
Okay, cool. How?
Yeah.
Like,
But that escalator thing and the likely to be earned thing, that
yeah,
was very interesting.
yeah. So in terms of just like cap deferment and all that, um, and it kind of I don't know, maybe gives a glimpse into what the Seahawks' intentions are here with the full picture. I don't know. So let's talk about this, the other part of this, right? If it's only a 1 year deal, what does that mean related to the whole number 5 pick situation with the quarterbacks, right? Because CJ Stroud could make some sense. Anthony Richardson had a meeting with the Seahawks that apparently went well. There's, the Pete Carroll went on the Rich Eisen show and um, basically said like, yeah, we're very open to the possibility of doing that. Now, a little bit of that could be, or all of that could really just be posturing to, um, you know, uh, get the Raiders and the Panthers and the Falcons a little bit antsy and willing to trade up and all this stuff. But I don't know, man. What do you think about all of this?
Yeah, it's the classic pre-draft scenario of when you don't have an obvious need in your roster in particular. Like Seattle, I mean, they have one at center, but
Yeah,
generally speaking, at quarterback they don't. Then there's nothing to lose by being positive about every position, every player,
right.
uh, when you're asked about them. And so naturally, people think, "Oh, these quarterbacks look interesting." They hadn't had Geno signed at the time, so suddenly Seattle has a more gaping need, so teams start talking them up. And then Anthony Richardson makes his comments. And so, I mean, Anthony Richardson, even if you're not going to draft him or you decide not to, he's a fun player, like a very cool player. Like everyone saw what he did at combine. You can't deny that that was amazing. Like the most athletic quarterback ever.
Yeah, yeah,
Along with the stuff he shows on tape. So why would you not say that he's a cool player? I found
yeah,
it interesting how Pete Carroll went on the Rich Eisen show and he bigged up a lot of the positions, but he didn't mention the D line or edge at all. So but then this is the thing, like it's all like second guessing, uh,
yeah.
poker
What's
face,
real? What's
double
not?
bluffing or
What?
bluffing.
Yeah,
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 it's all just nonsense. But
yeah,
Seattle will definitely consider the situation. There's no reason for them to lie about that. Obviously, they will,
yeah.
and they don't pick up five often, as John Schneider said. He also said
Pete said
quarterbacks
that as
don't grow
well.
on trees, and yeah,
Yeah.
Pete described it as a top opportunity or something, or it's at the
Uh,
top of our minds that we're going to look at
yeah.
the quarterbacks, and of course it is. And Anthony Richardson is very traitsy, as we've spoke about. He is like feels like a Schneider kind of dude in that sense. Obviously,
Mhm.
Schneider's like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Think about them coming out, what their strengths were, what were their weaknesses. Richardson is on a similar kind of spectrum as to that.
Mhm.
So it was just cool that, I mean, Gino was basically perfect in the press conference. Like, he just seems so grounded and very, very good leader, very
Yeah, yeah.
smart, intelligent guy.
Yep.
But he was asked, obviously, about Seattle, the potential of Seattle drafting a quarterback at 5 and whether that would be competition or a mentor opportunity. And he said how that would be both. Mentioned how, he worked with Drew Lock, but he also loves to compete with anybody. Um, and it's his job as a leader and it's who he is at heart, to help guys. So
Mm.
fine. Kind of a
Yeah.
nothing answer, in that, like,
Well,
what is he going to
he could
say?
have
But he could have
he
been a
he
like
could have
Aaron
Joe
Rodgers.
Flacco'd it. Yeah,
Yeah,
he could have Joe Flacco'd it like he and be like, yeah, I'm not helping him. Like,
yeah. Screw that
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, it's good to see that Gino's saying all the right stuff and everything. I mean, he's gonna be a coach one day, like no doubt in my mind.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Um,
maybe something which uses similar skills but out of football, helping
yeah, he just seems like a good
community or something.
yeah, he just seems like a good people person,
Definitely.
good like culture builder probably.
hmm
So, um, yeah, so for me, I kind of ruled out the whole quarterback thing for a while. And maybe that's just cope, but after seeing these contract details tonight, this is kind of the first time that I'm going, huh, they might actually do it. Like, because I don't know. I guess I didn't think that I didn't think it was possible because I felt like there were going to be more guarantees and that they were going to be a bit more handcuffed to Geno beyond 2023.
Mm.
But now that they're not, now that they can just easily move on if they wanted to, it does seem like they're kind of setting it up for the possibility. Like, because the contract can work both ways when you're looking at it from the number 5 pick situation. It's either a window to, or a bridge rather, to whatever's next, or it protects them in case they end up not taking the quarterback in this draft because they still have the quarterback in tow for the next 3 years if they so want him. So, and it also keeps the window open for drafting a quarterback next year as well. So I don't know, man. It's interesting because, like, I guess that they did need to put in a fallback plan in case Anderson and Carter go and they're not really sold on Tyree Wilson, right? Because, like, who else are you drafting at number 5, right?
Well, they have a top 5 visit,
Or
top 30, sorry, visit with DeJuan Jones. Like,
right,
he's got rare size. Okay, he's a right tackle, but like you really have to do your due diligence on dudes who maybe you do a mini trade down from 5. But like, yeah, like,
right, yeah,
but yeah, to your wider point, absolutely, this is the contract that allows them to do what they want. It gives them complete, again, it's that flexibility thing. It gives them complete freedom, and so that's
yeah.
why it's super exciting for the Seahawks because then like
They
the
hold a lot of leverage.
yeah, and they're in a position where they can take this any way they want. They're not forced into anything. They whatever however they want to do it, whoever they like, they can do. Whereas like if they hadn't say they hadn't re-signed Geno had gone elsewhere, then
Mhm.
suddenly you might have to force a quarterback, or
Right. The
say they've paid
deal,
Geno massive money, then it's like, well, how are we gonna if the rookie's the guy, then we're kind of okay, rookie contracts for quarterbacks are great, but like, okay, Geno's gonna kinda hamper into that.
right. And it also, like, if they want to move on from Geno to go with the young guy, like, say that they do draft Anthony Richardson, and in 2024 they're like, we want Anthony to be the guy, and Geno is coming off of a pretty good year still. You can trade Geno,
Mhm.
and he's going to be affordable. He's going to be way more affordable than any quarterback that you could probably find on the open market next year. So uh, this is, again, it's a win-win-win-win-win situation for the Seahawks here, essentially. And what it most importantly accomplishes, the deal itself, is that it doesn't tip their hand at all. Like, it's still, like, if in terms of, like, trying to keep other teams guessing in terms of maybe trying to bait a trade up or anything like that, from the Raiders, from the Panthers, from the Falcons, from the Titans, etc. List goes on. There's nothing here that says, yeah, we're not taking a quarterback. You don't have to worry about that. Like,
Absolutely.
the other thing too, right? I mentioned, if Carter and Anderson are off the board before 5, I mean, maybe Carter's not even on their board anymore. That's the other aspect of this. So really, it's, maybe they view it as Anderson or a quarterback, or maybe they view it as Anderson and Wilson or a quarterback. And so if
Yeah.
Anderson and Wilson are gone, like, what else do you do? Especially, like, if you're not going to get the trade up that you want, you're not just going, or the trade down rather that you want, you're not just going to do it for the sake of doing it.
Well, and
So,
and also Ty, maybe people don't wanna trade up.
right.
This is what we say about, like, there's bluffing, double bluffing, what's real and what's not. Like, if you talk about up the quarterbacks, you don't lose because then you can also entice teams to want to trade up, uh, with you, by creating hype around the quarterbacks.
Mhm,
The other thing as well is, like, if you really are grading guys and there's only Pete Carroll mentioned it, there's only so many top players in this draft class. It's what I've said, it's what Griff said from watching, it's what a lot of analysts have said. There's not as
mhm,
many top guys as there have been in other classes.
mhm,
There's lots of good players, but where do you take a good player? probably not in the top 10 of the draft, hopefully. So then
Right.
maybe you do go, well, our top guys are gone. Maybe Jalen Carter, as you said, Ty isn't on their board. Obviously, we've heard some other things on top of
Mhm.
what look at us all sourced up on top of
Mhm.
his tragic legal incident, and
Mhm.
so and that when's that going to play out? We don't know about that sort of timeline, but like
Yeah,
maybe he's
we
obviously
don't know what information Seattle has that we don't, like the public doesn't know, that
right.
we don't know, like,
Because he like just purely on the field football standpoint, like from the tape, is the best player in the draft. But if he's
Mhm.
off the board, that's one less of the clear big guys there. And so, as you attack your camera, Ty,
My ring light tried to fall and disrupt the show, but
there
I
you
did
go.
not allow it. I
No,
caught it.
don't allow it. So
Yeah.
then, you know, maybe you just have to, maybe you can't trade down, or maybe you're just like, well, crap, this quarterback is special. Like maybe his ceiling, Anthony Richardson's ceiling, grades higher than any of the other prospects, or it could be a different quarterback. But then you're like, well, let's do it. And
Yeah.
as has been pointed out by in our comments section, where we record this live on YouTube if you're listening, and you can get involved with the show by Chris Adams. And thank you, Chris, for the reminder. Gino has mentioned many times that all he needed when he entered the NFL was a veteran to learn from, and he's spoken readily about wanting to pay it forward. And that's right. Gino does want to help. And,
Mhm.
it's like the comments we spoke about earlier in his press conference, but he kind of wants to be a mentor who I think he described how the atmosphere in the Seahawks quarterback room last year was tight knit and they all got along really well, him and Drew Lock. And that was pretty obvious as well, seeing Lock on the sidelines with Pete Carroll as well, how they're trying to build him up. And so I don't, it's just a very, very cool situation, really. And
Mhm.
the last thing on the Geno presser, I loved how, I mean, obviously he's happy, but it was so cool seeing him like that happy. And he was wearing his, oh man, I need to
Dude, Gino has a great smile. Like, it's just infectious,
hold,
man.
yeah, it was just a wholesome moment overall.
Yeah.
What's
He's just
his,
a wholesome dude in general.
yeah,
Like,
what
yeah.
was his oh yeah, Seven Sunday Heroes. His foundation.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was the kind of like sweatshirt he was wearing underneath his suit. It's quite a cool fit. Um which is an extension of his mother and grandmother's efforts back home. But it's like a
That's cool.
uh just helps out in the community, and they host like I think they did a Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. I'm
Right.
yeah, pretty sure it just helps local communities out, like the
That's
leaders in
dope.
communities. Which again, like when we talk about after ball with Gino, like he's already kind of doing this like
Philanthropy.
leadership
Yeah.
in communities and helping out and stuff like that. But yeah, and awesome to hear Gino saying like right at the start on the contract process, I wanted to stay here. I was hoping we could get something done quickly. I didn't want to have to test the free agent market. Obviously, if I had to do that, then I had to. But I think everyone did a great job at making this work, and now it's about having pay it off in the future. So, he wanted to be
Right.
a Seahawk. He's a man of his word. Like he said this after the season, as we spoke about. So, very,
Right.
very wholesome, very cool. Win, 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 win situation with the Seahawks. I think it's a win, win, win for Geno Smith as well, contract wise. And I think, now Seattle has a guy who at his best is at his best last year, an MVP candidate, but at his
Yeah.
best is like one of the best pocket passes in the NFL. Now Tom
Yeah.
Brady's gone. Like there ain't any people when Geno's on it. There ain't many quarterbacks who are better than him out the pocket, and so
Yeah.
then you can focus around building your young team. But also, if you build your young team in the holes that you have, there's no reason Geno can't cook. Like the holes on offense are interior defensive line and wide receiver 3, third receiving option, and then tight end.
Yeah.
Your rookie tackles should get better. It's their second season. Not that they were poor, but they had sporadic moments that rookies have. Second year of NFL, they'll be more familiar with that. So then the pass protection should be more sustainable. And so then, why can't Geno keep it up? Kenneth Walker the second as well. He's not going to have Ken is not going to have the kind of rookie growing pains of vision and patience. He's going to hit the hole. He knows what he can get away with in the NFL now. Your run game's not going to collapse because of those kind of growing pains either, in theory. So obviously there's ifs and buts. That's just the NFL with the salary cap,
Candy
with roster
nuts.
construction. Thank you. And
He's not here. I had to do it for him.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
R.I.P.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So,
Wrestling podcast, of course.
wrestling podcast. So there you go.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we will talk about the first year cap hit when we know it. But really, it seems like Seattle will have found a way to make it so that they have a bit of money. Carroll said how they have to be to Seattle sports. He said judicious. They
Yeah.
must be judicious, which
Yeah.
is
I
very
I mean
fancy.
he told Chris Sims and God, what's his name? I always
Mike
forget his
Florio.
Mike Florio. Thank you. This isn't the first time that I forgot his name on a podcast. I
Wow,
I
that's
almost
disrespectful.
for some reason for some reason I want to call him Lefko, like Adam Lefko.
Oh no,
I
that's a
get that.
that's a
Yeah,
different guy,
that's a
actually.
definitely that's a totally different person. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. Pete was saying,
K's and
like
F's.
yeah, of course. Um, he was telling them that like we got stuff that we have to do this offseason. Like, yeah, we want to sign Geno, but like we need to get better. Like, and
Mhm.
but
He's right.
free agent. Yeah, he's very, very correct with
Yep.
that assessment. Very astute of you, Pete Carroll. Yeah. So and Maddie, listen to
Mm.
this segue. The Seahawks did some things today to help them out with their free agent pursuits this month. So
They did. So
mm,
this wasn't overly surprising, but Tom Pelissero of NFL Network reported that the Seahawks have released veteran guard Gabe Jackson.
mm,
That was on the wire, the waiver wire.
mm.
That move clears $6.5 million in cash and cap space for 2023.
Well, you're cash man now.
Oh, well, Ty, if you'd let me segue, then,
True, 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 true. I
looks like I'm
became
cash man.
I became Segway boy for a
Segway,
sec.
Segway
Yes.
boy.
Yeah.
All these boys on their Segways.
Yep, yep, yep.
There you go. So, yeah, as I said, this was kind of expected. Like,
Mhm.
Jackson visibly declined. I think it was an age health thing. He's turning 32. If you look at his snap counts, like he became a part-time right guard when he was earning starter money, and this year was going to earn. Was it like $11.5 million this year?
Yeah, it
I
was
think it was.
yeah, it
I
was
think it
something
was
crazy
pretty
like that.
high. Like there's
Yeah.
some dead money with this as well. But
Yeah,
anyway,
there's like $4 million worth of dead money. So yeah, I think it was about 11.
there you go. So yeah, he played week 5, 60% of snaps, week 8, 41%, week 9, 51%, week 10, 60%, week 11, 60%, week 12, 57%, week 13, 46%, week 14, 56%, week 15, 57%, week 16, 68%. So that is 10 games not playing 100% of the snaps, and I think it's 8 of 10 below 60% or 60%. So
Yeah.
not
The
just
the
not
dead
good.
cap the dead cap by the way is 4.7 mil.
No,
So,
so yeah, 5 mil. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, Jackson just it wasn't a viable thing, and
No.
Seattle obviously re-signed Phil Haynes to a slightly higher than expected deal, I think, for some people. But then that's because he's going to be given the right guard job to lose. How that pans out, I don't know. I know he did well in better in pass block win rate than I think. Which warrants a kind of rewatch of the film because I
Mhm.
need to sort of dive into how good he actually was last year. I think he was kind of up
Right.
and down.
Right.
But obviously, Seattle's going to have to add another guy, probably through the draft, to compete at the right guard spot, get younger, get more, more competitive there. Uh, Just Jackson was just, it was just time for it to be the end. So,
Mhm.
um, and maybe he lands somewhere else, but it just felt like his body, like if he's having to rest, maybe a off season of resting and not being in camp and stuff would help him. But it just feels like he's just played a lot of football and the it's probably done. Obviously, he arrived with Seattle in 2021 via a fifth round pick traded from the Raiders. So,
Mhm.
and I think it was a move that Russell Wilson was in favor of.
Right.
Obviously, he's gone, and now Gabe Jackson's gone.
And it was kind of a desperation move from the Seahawks because didn't they? Which one did they go after? Was it Zeitler? Was it Zeitler or Tooney? They went after one of
I
them.
think it was Zeitler.
Zeitler, yeah. And then they whiffed on Zeitler. Tooney ended up going to Kansas City. Corey Lindsley ended up going to LA. And then Rodney Hudson got traded to Arizona, and they were like, well, we need an interior offensive lineman, and we don't have many draft picks, so
Yeah,
kind of have to do this.
that's the other factor there. They because
Yeah,
of that draft, they where they had very limited assets
yeah,
from the Jamal Adams trade. It sort of left them short.
yeah. And Jackson just wasn't really a great fit for the scheme. It was just kind of weird. So
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that, like moving forward, like draft wise. We'll be talking about it, but it's
kind of wonder if this means Damian Lewis goes back to right guard.
well, that's where he played his best football, and he like left guard. It's difficult doing that,
Right.
as Griff says, like trying to brush your teeth left-handed or right-handed with your weaker hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just bit odd, but yeah, like maybe in the draft they take a tackle and kick him inside. Like, do they still want size and people movers and displacement, or are they favoring more like footwork, agility? Obviously,
Right.
there's a
Like
blend.
like
So you can mess with the sliders on that. It's not like an either or, but
like let's overreact a little bit here to the top 30 visit, because ultimately these top 30 visits, like
hmm
they end up drafting maybe two of them, per year. I think Derek Young and Boye Mafe were the only ones from the top 30
oh,
that
there you
they
go.
drafted last year, just for context. But
hmm
let's say they do take DeJuan Jones.
hmm
What do you do with Abe Lucas?
Well, I don't know, man. Like kicking Abe Lucas inside just does not feel like the right move. Like, let the guy learn how to play tackle and get good
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
Similarly, like, I don't think Jones has been anything other than a right tackle. And so that's a tough ask. Maybe if he's learning behind Haynes, it's a huge guy to have a right guard. Now, remember, they did show interest in um, Trent Brown. They brought him
Yeah.
in for a free agency visit, and he's a big guard. So maybe Jones is that thing of like, I think tackles in coming out of college generally have better footwork for outside zone than a guard does. And also, if they're big and they're long, and DeJuan Jones is big and he's long. Like
Mhm.
I mentioned it earlier, but he has
And
rare
he can
size.
move.
Yeah, and so I need to watch his tape because like to see whether that's a viable sort of thing. But like Geno's tall as well. It's not like with Russ, maybe you'd have some hesitancy drafting a massive dude, especially on the right, like in the primary kind of throwing lane. But
Yeah.
with Geno, I think he'd be all right doing that. Definitely interesting. Another guy, I mean, he wasn't mentioned, but Darnell Wright, I really like, and
Right. Yeah.
maybe he could
Yeah.
do
I've seen
that.
some of his I've seen some clips that people have posted of him on
Yeah.
Twitter.
And like personally, I again still making my way through. We'll have each positional preview before the draft of the
Mhm.
college guys, but I'm not that impressed with the guards in this class. So, like, if you wanted to take a kind of rare size dude, put him there, that'd be cool. But I'd prefer, like, I need to watch Jones, but I think I prefer, um, keeping Lucas at right tackle and asking the rookie to convert than the
Yeah.
alternative. Obviously, every player is different. Um, yeah. Uh, there you go. So,
So the other thing that I guess we're kind of waiting on, cuts, etc. Shelby
mhm.
Harris. You could save $9 million by cutting him, but I don't think that they particularly want to cut him. So
No, and Schneider was asked about him at the combine, like, "Are you going to extend him?" And he
yeah.
was like, "Well, he's still got a year left." So he's pretty cagey with that. But he did also credit Shelby's play. Like he was very positive about Shelby's play. Now,
Mhm.
there are other motives for that, but I think you can take it at face value that they felt he was active and pressured well. He was
Mhm.
one of the better Seahawks interior defensive linemen last year. That
Right.
is a price, but really, when your interior, the defensive line struggles so much with the kind of 2-4-5 approach last year, you probably don't want to get rid of one of the few guys who could actually do it well.
Yeah. So I would feel that at the very least they're going to try to restructure that deal to lower the cap hit, or maybe add a void year. So technically an extension, but not really. Where they add a void year or two to move some of that cap off or whatever. Um, or just a straight up extension where they get them locked up for at least another year, and then maybe there's a third year that's just a void year on that or something like that, to help with the cap purposes. But yeah, I mean, like, Quentin Jefferson's another guy that I think they can save a few $1 million from if they cut him. um but the Harris situation is the one that I'm really interested in, because like you mentioned, he's one of the few guys that actually had some success and played fairly consistently along that line. And I mean, they keep on talking about, like, whenever they've been talking about, getting better, just reading between the lines, they're talking about the defensive front. And so I don't know if you get rid of the little bit of good depth that you have there, if you take away from that. So I assume that they're going to try and do everything they can to keep Harris in tow on a more favorable deal.
Yeah,
But
makes sense.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
So the other news, Ty, was that sadly Ben Burke-Irvin got released. Now
Mhm.
this is real, like, example of how brutal the NFL is, because
Yeah.
2021, third year of NFL football, the preseason, he is lighting it up. Like, it looked like it all
Right.
come together. It looked like he was going to be the next, like, Seattle linebacker who was going to be bringing juice. Like, he
Mhm.
was playing bigger, he's sort of overcoming size concerns. He was quick. He was diagnosing plays very effectively. He looked brilliant. And then he tore his ACL, which I think happened in the third preseason game.
Mhm.
Former fifth round pick of the Seahawks. Obviously, he went to UW, so kind of hometown kind of hero.
I think it was
Um,
against
and
Vegas, right? They did
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I think so. And then he spent ages trying to rehab it. Uh, it just never could come back right. And Pete Carroll described this past season how I think he used the term they're in uncharted territory because there was nerve damage and stuff. It just
Yeah.
sounds like awful. Like, I hope that he career wise, human wise, like, movement wise, that he's not too badly impacted for the rest of his life. And um, just mentally, physically, everything. It just must be so draining and tough because he was right on the precipice of making a roster. And
Right.
being a starter, coming from the top, working so hard. Now he's tried to rehab and work hard and make it back, and he just couldn't get it done. And that just must be incredibly tough. And yeah, big sympathies for him. I hope whatever he does, whether it's in football or out of football after his career, is rewarding, and
For
I'm
sure.
sure he'll succeed with the application that he showed in his uh, sadly brief football career. So
Yeah. It's brutal
yeah,
stuff, man.
it is tough. And I know that, like, Pete Carroll and John Schneider, they said that they, like, he's a good person and the fans of him. And I hope, I'm sure the team will, well, hopefully the team looks after him, and
Takes care of him. Yeah.
he's pointed in the right directions with things. So yeah, bummer.
Yeah. Yeah. Not fun. Hoping for the best for him, whatever he does next.
So Ty, where
Mm.
where do you want to take it next? Do you want to wrap?
Well, Maddie, yesterday marked the 1 year anniversary of a certain trade that was made by the football team that we cover.
Mm.
Do you remember what that was, by chance?
Oh, well, I thought Bobby Wagner got cut.
Yeah, that happened. He did get cut, but the Seahawks did actually make a trade about 8 hours before Bobby Wagner was cut. It
Oh,
was
they
a pretty big
did.
deal. Yeah, yeah, it was a pretty big deal. Big
Pretty
enough
big.
deal for Adam Schefter to tweet it out.
There you
Though
go.
Schefter, to be fair, does tweet out a lot of things.
He does.
Um, mhm.
It's kind of his
uh,
job.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 1 year anniversary of the Russell Wilson trade. Um, that thing. I'm a little sad that they weren't able to wait until the anniversary to announce the Geno deal. Thought that would have been, you know,
That would have been nice,
that would have been
but
cool.
also petty. Like, let it be Geno's day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Pete Carroll's dabbling in some pettiness lately. I don't know if you've been looking at his social media.
Well, we should probably talk about that. But firstly, yeah, 30 minutes after the trade was announced, I tweeted, as pointed out by Hustle Chilson on Twitter. Thank you, Mr. Hustle.
Mhm.
Let Geno Smith cook. I tweeted 30 minutes after.
Mm,
There's
mm,
going to be a lot of backpatting here. I also tweeted, this draft class appears to be absolutely loaded in the trenches. The Seahawks should be able to get their foundations right.
mm,
Abraham
mm,
Lucas, Charles Cross, Boye
mm,
Mafe, to be
mhm,
determined. But there you go.
mm. Yeah.
Uh, uh, oh, this is a good one. Russell Wilson played bad, limitations obvious, worked out football for 1.5 seasons in the kind of offense people wanted him to be in.
Mm. Who tweeted that?
I did.
Mm,
That's the
interesting.
best part of this. We're going to find out if Russell Wilson is he and Greg Olson, who said that the coaches basically weren't listening to,
I
and it was
remember
like we're
that.
playing with a JV roster. Yeah.
Right.
Um, or if Pete Carroll was running the right offense for his skill set all along. History proves insightful. In 2020, they let Russ cook, then the kitchen caught fire.
Mm,
Oh, here's another tweet from me. I think Pete Carroll is on the right side of this Seahawks Russell Wilson disagreement. He isn't that drop back a lot of times
mm.
top 5 quarterback. But the beauty of this timeline is the truth will be revealed in 2022 and beyond.
Maddie, these tweets are kind of sounding toxic.
And smug, really smug,
Really smug.
and
Really smug.
toxic.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I used to be a big fan of your timeline, but now you're the most petty person on
yeah,
NFL Twitter.
you're right. It was toxic.
Mm.
This is a good one. Oh my god, I popped the shops and this happened. I was looking for the harissa paste while John Schneider added all the spice I needed. I think I was making kofta at the time that
Mm,
this. So I was like on my phone tweeting while like mixing mince with like
mhm.
spices, and then
Right.
the harissa paste was going on my phone. It was
Yeah.
bad. Then it got in
Mm.
my eyes, and
Oh,
then I
wow.
had to fire off a tweet. And
Right.
yeah,
As one naturally has to. Yeah.
right,
And you did it successfully.
yeah.
And I think you pulled it off.
Ty, do you know something about harissa paste?
No, no, tell me.
It's spicy.
Oh, oh. I don't get it.
All right.
What are you referencing?
Well, no, it's just spicy, you know. Okay,
Right,
so
right,
do
right,
you
right,
have any
right.
tweets that from March the 8th that are your favorites?
Uh, a certain analytics related account, analytics focused account, saying I'm so happy for Russell Wilson. That was
Hmm.
a good one. I like that one. Um, I don't know. I remember.
Oh, this is a good one. You Russ haters will certainly find out next year if he can pass the ball without Pete Carroll covering for all of his deficiencies.
Right, right. That's a good one. Um, I just the thing that I most remember from that day was that I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a day off and not have to write anything today," because I was still covering the Seahawks for all Seahawks at that time. And then looking at my phone and my co-host on Locked On Mariners, Colby Patnode, DM me, and he's like, "Oh my god," in all caps, and I'm like, "What?" And he just typed ha 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 ha, and I looked at Twitter. I was like, "Shit." And it ruined my day, essentially.
It ruined your day.
Not because Russell Wilson got traded. Well, because Russell Wilson got traded, but that wasn't my reaction to the fact that Russell Wilson was no longer a Seahawk. It was my reaction to the fact that I had to work all of a sudden. And that was not very cool. So, John Schneider, you ruined my day off. However,
Yeah, well done, John.
that led to Charles Cross and Boye Mafe, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, this number 5 pick, another second round pick coming up here this April. And Geno Smith, the revelation of Geno Smith. So I guess I forgive you, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. And obviously 3-8, the what I described as the second elements.
Element. Thank you.
Bobby Wagner was also released, which was like the Seahawks were just like, okay, let's just get this out of the way with. And that was also tough. Maybe he'll be back in Seattle. I tweeted in 2022 when it happened. Wagner's athletic climb was visible in every 2021 game. It negatively impacted his work in the pass and run game. So I don't think much has changed there, but we'll see. We've made our thoughts clear on that subject. Check out previous podcasts. But anyway, Ty, a year on, Seattle's in a great position. We are excited to talk about that position of draft picks. We've already done it. Hey Ty, how are we doing on the likes?
Oh, let's check that out.
Like the video, comment if you're a preamble or non-preamble.
I'm
you
pro preamble, and I'm just going to be honest with you. If you're anti preamble, you're a freak.
I'm a preambler, so
Yeah,
how about that?
Yeah,
Yeah, try
absolutely.
that one for size.
All right, so we have 35 watching on YouTube right now and only 11 likes. So
that is
you guys
pitiful.
need to change. You
that
guys need to change that right
disgrace.
now. Yeah, that's
what on earth.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get dislikes because I was so smug about my tweets. I hope I didn't come across smug
or toxic.
Yeah, well, we all know that I'm toxic. It's well established in far off lands.
Right.
Germany.
I mean, you just got to stop talking about stuff that nobody cares about.
True. No one cares about that.
Like nuts.
It's just not relevant to the Seahawks.
Astrology.
Like the fact that the Seahawks pick 5 overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or astrology,
yeah.
So what does a Taurus do?
Taurus? What's a Taurus? Oh my God. We have a $10 donation from Beyond Balance. Watched forever. First time catching you guys live. Love you guys. Only ones on the Geno train when I was.
Love you too, Beyond Balance. Thank you so much.
Love you.
There we go.
MV Geno, baby. Should I pull out the jersey? It's here. The infamous jersey. Right here.
Sheesh. Look at that.
I get to make use out of it for.
You know what? That looks like it was purchased in October 2022.
It wasn't actually. It was purchased in September 2022.
And little known fact about September is it comes before October. So
that's right.
Pretty cool.
Matty Stanger.
That is disgusting. Hey, Greg, Ari, you're getting timed out.
Oh, 5-minute timeout for Gregory.
Unacceptable.
Oh,
remember, if I truly am going to live up to that name, I got a block.
Griff left me on red today when I was like, "Oh yeah, you can Stang RT yourself next year when the Seahawks draft one of those Wisconsin linebackers."
Oh yeah, Griff will be doing that though.
Yeah, he will be.
Yeah,
like I know that.
Will be.
Oh yeah. He's gonna be like, "See, guys, I was right. I was on it before anyone else."
How's the like count now? Are people doing their jobs? Are you competing?
Let's go back. Yeah. If you're not, then you're scared to compete. Let's see. All right, we got 6 more likes since we put out the.
Sheesh.
Yeah, but it's still. But 19 of you still have not liked the video. At least 19 of you. So I'm disappointed still.
Ty, we should actually talk about the Pete Carroll Sauce Gardner thing.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that real quick.
So this is funny. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sauce Gardner had a slightly odd appearance at the NFL Combine with Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah on NFL Network, the live coverage. He said his most uncomfortable pre-draft interview of the Seahawks with Pete Carroll, and he said it was because he was like too close to him and was always cutting him off. Basically saying along the lines of like, what do you see when you look at a receiver, and then cutting him off and asking it again, but like staring at him, being close. So he had fun with that. That was great. And then Pete Carroll tweeted out the receipts, added Sauce Gardner, Hey, next gen stats, a little help here, trying to get a measurement between me and Source Gardener. So the first picture's Pete at like 10-person distance. No, it's like 5-person distance. Source taking a seat, Pete just looking at him slightly. Then it's Pete sat down, Source standing up. Now it's a 10-person, 15-person distance between the two. Then it's Pete even more relaxed, sitting back, and Source sat down, leaning forward slightly.
Mm. I have a wrinkle to throw in this whole thing, potentially. That was his combine interview, but Sauce Gardner also had a top 30 visit with the Seahawks. So was he potentially talking about that instead of the combine?
But I mean, potentially.
Yeah. So Pete,
like, why not?
Seahawks, we need photographic proof of the top 30 visit as well.
Well, that, you know what? That's less fun. But no, we'll say it was.
We'll say that it was Cap from Sauce because we love Pete and
and
Pete wouldn't
so
lie. Yeah.
what was funny was then Geno, when he was posing for pictures for his signing, Pete said, "I don't know where to stand," and Geno was like, "Closer, closer," and then they like got really close to Geno. And I also I also was a degenerate. Oh, well, firstly, before me being a degenerate, Source quote retweeted Pete's tweet, deleted 4 previous attempts, and then quote retweeted something. So he's clearly a bit heated about it. I mean, this is basically
he also
implying
went
that
on.
Source is a massive liar.
He also went on Twitch and like ranted about it for like 4 minutes. There's like a 4-minute clip of him
Amazing,
on his Twitch talking about it. Yeah,
just like completely melting down.
Yeah.
And then Pete mentioned it on the Rich Eisen show and said like that was weird. Don't know what he's talking about. So yeah,
Very,
rattled,
very, very strange.
really strange. And I was a degenerate, and so in these pictures, there's an image, a still image of a play that they've got up to show Source.
Oh
So
yeah,
I found
you are
the
a
play.
degenerate. This might be one of your most degenerate things, actually. Like,
Yeah. So I found the play, and what happens is it's Cincinnati versus Indiana. There's less than a minute left in the second quarter. It's a 2nd and 12.
Yeah.
Source is kind of playing outside leverage on the receiver in press. And what happens is the receiver off the line gives a little hand shimmy, which gets Source thinking it's going to be an outside release fade route. The receiver actually widens him out, releases inside, runs a comeback, catches the pass beyond the first down marker. And so that matches Source's comments about them saying, what do you look at when you see a receiver? Because Pete Carroll teaches bottom of the numbers to have your eyes on. Most coaches would teach the belt buckle lower down because hips don't lie, as Shakira, when she was talking about that, was talking about press coverage.
Shakira.
Yep, she was talking about press. She knows press coverage. But Pete Carroll coaches bottom of the numbers, which I think for like against like the bigger receivers is more fitting. But here, I think Source's eyes were a bit too high, and that's how the hand fake kind of got him open to the outside. And so, if you sync up this play with Source's comments about Pete Carroll was asking me about what do you look at when you see a receiver, and this is a counterpoint to your pre-draft visit at the VMAC. Right. The evidence shows that when Source was asked this question, and really only Source and Pete Carroll will know this, but when Source was asked this question and the film was up, Pete was very far apart, was not too close to him. So Pete Carroll has called Source Gardner a liar. And Source is rattled.
So do we think that it was actually Pete who tweeted that, or like it was his idea to tweet that?
Well, per sources, I have it on authority that this account is run by Pete Carroll's daughter, or at least used to be at times.
Plot thickens.
However, I think Pete was a bit peeved and was like, "I'm just going to go at him." So find someone in the organization.
Pete is competing.
That's all it is. He's just competing. And honestly, this kind of sums up the energized nature of the front office. And Pete and the coaching staff, and like, it's new and exciting, the whole process. second year of Geno, the challenge of
They're tired of people lying on their names.
yeah, that too. They've been talk your stuff, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, nailed it. There you go.
I already broke the cursing rules
There you
tonight,
go.
but oh well. I'm competing too. Competing my frickin' tail off.
And Quandre Diggs, among others, enjoyed Pete's tweet. So, of
course, yeah,
that's great.
Quandre's still trying to recruit. I've been seeing. He was also at Texas Pro Day today. Was Texas Pro Day today? He was at Texas for some reason.
Well, he went to Texas.
Well, thank you, Matty.
Like whenever he goes back to Texas, I imagine it's just like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
it's a good time. Good time. Yeah. All right.
Well, how are the likes doing now, Ty?
Let's see. Our Sauce Gardner talk better earned us like at least 8 likes. Got us 6 more likes. All right, that's a bit better. We're at 42 watching with 23 likes, so there's still
not
19 people that have not liked the video.
Absolute scoundrels.
Yeah, sickos.
Okay. Yep, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're done. Hey, give us a 5-star review and download the show too. This is a podcast where preamble's edited out. You get music. You get a cool intro person, and you get other perks too.
Yeah.
So until next time, this has been the Seattle Overload podcast. Matty and Ty. Follow Ty at Dane Gunzelers. Follow me at Matty F Brown. Follow the Twitter at Seattle Overload, and we're out of here. We'll be back next Monday, me and Griff and potentially Ty, talking NFL draft edge rushers.
No talking heads.
None of them.
Talking heads.
No. Ban the talking heads.